athlete and a proud member of the Donlinger family, I hold this project very close to my heart. I believe in the future of this university, and I'm so thankful and proud for all of you that have been a part of the renewal, because you're making tomorrow an even better day to be a Shocker. I would now like to move into today's program. Speaking on behalf of the WSU Foundation, our first speaker has given back to WSU in countless ways over the past 40 years, and for that we are extremely grateful. I would now like to welcome Dr. James Radigan.
Thank you all for being here this morning. Before I say too much, I want to acknowledge President Mrs. Beggs, Roger Lowe, who's a longtime president of our building here, brought it to such a good shape the last time around, and many others, my longtime secretary, my wife. Pretty soon I'll talk about everybody. But the one that's most perilous for me to introduce is Brian Sullivan, because he was here in 1959, and I figured with my historical comments they were unrebuttable, but now I'm vulnerable. This is another exciting chapter in the history of this building. Students first voted for funds for this building in 1946, putting money aside for almost a decade before that first groundbreaking. And that ceremony was held 54 years ago, and the result would eventually be a 70,000 square foot building, really a very lovely building. Some very recognizable names in our history are part of that effort, including President Harry Corbin, Dean of Women Josephine Fugate, and Wichita University Regent Kathleen Edmonston, and Bill Glenn, the first director, and Brian Sullivan. Once the university went into the state system, the student population grew immensely just the first year or two. But by 1970, it had almost doubled in size, with no new space of any kind anywhere. And so it was recognized that the student center, the campus activity center, would need to be enlarged. And as part of that effort, the CAC Theater was built to the west of me here, and for many years it was used extensively as a classroom. In 1968, a decision was made to expand the building again. And when it was done, it would be the largest building on the campus, save the library, which is a different kind of building. Today, we may not make people go there. Today, it represents another significant milestone in the history of the building. And within the next 3 years, some 60,000 new square feet of space will be added to the RSC, along with almost total renovation of the building, except for the bookstore, which was done just a few years ago, which will result in a building almost 240,000 square feet in size. Certainly our largest building, excluding, once again, the library. This is a place where every month 100,000 people come and go. Many of them are the same people, but there's a lot of traffic in this building, as you know. People come here for a variety of reasons, but things have happened that enable those folks to make connections that they could have not made otherwise. And this is the nature of almost all incidental contexts. Some of them come and go, but others take root. And when that happens, the trajectory of an individual life is changed. Once again, students will be the major contributors to this building. This time, though, President Beggs and Dr. Elizabeth King, our CEO and president of the WSU Foundation, felt it would be helpful if the foundation would try to offset some of the costs through private fundraising. Every dollar raised would conceivably reduce the need to borrow. And I'm happy to say to date that we have, that 144 alumni and friends have come forward with gifts toward the $1.5 million that we have in hand or pledged at this moment. And some $700,000 of that was directed specifically to the naming of the ballroom for Shirley Beggs, our beloved First Lady. Gifts to date have ranged from $25 to $225,000, and all of them are greatly appreciated. The foundation will continue its efforts throughout the building period and beyond. This, in my opinion, is a very exciting time in the history of this building, and the efforts of everyone are appreciated. Thank you all.
Thank you, Dr. Radigan. We always appreciate your involvement with our university. Our second speaker is President of the Student Activities Council and will be speaking on behalf of the WSU students. Please help me welcome Tessa Cattermole.
The Student Union is often referred to as the living room of a campus, and for good reason. It is an all-encompassing place for students to gather between classes, eat a meal, study, shop, or simply relax. But more importantly than the individual services it offers, the Student Union is the beating heart of student life. In the same way that a living room brings different family members together, the Radigan Student Center is one of the only places where students, whether traditional or non-traditional, commuter or resident, and engineer or artist, can come together on campus. This is especially important for Wichita State with our incredibly diverse student population. I remember the first time I stepped foot in the Radigan Student Center. I was in high school visiting for senior day and extremely overwhelmed by the task of choosing a university, or in other words, my home for 4 years. The campus felt like a good fit and the day was enjoyable, but I wondered if the commuter nature of the school would give me the college experience I was really looking for. Towards the end of the day, my mom and I ended up in the RSC. I remember looking around at all of the students huddled around books and laptops, eating together, chatting, and simply enjoying a part of campus that had nothing to do with their classes. If I remember right, there was even a student musician playing here in Shocker Square. It truly felt like a community I wanted to belong to, and after I went home that day, I knew I would be a Shocker. Almost 4 years have passed since then, and I spend time in the RSC on a daily basis between my classes. The services I use most often include the Commerce Bank, whose manager took the time when I was a freshman to teach me how to build my credit and write my first check. Fast Break, whose coffee is the only thing that keeps many students, including myself, functional. The cozy study space and fireplace lounge, the pool tables in the rec center, and the meeting spaces for the various student organizations I am a part of. Just about everyone I know utilizes the building in some way. Several of my friends have had exhibits in the Student Art Gallery, and even more are employed in some way by the RSC. As someone who spends a good amount of time in the building, I have become familiar with not only its many services, but also its limitations. Often, all of the study spaces and meeting rooms are full. During certain times of the day, the line at Fast Break congests almost the entire first floor, and many of my peers don't even know that the rec center or the third floor ballroom exists due to the closed-off nature of the building. The RSC Renewal offers exciting solutions to these limitations, and I am confident that it will greatly enhance the students' experience in the building. Some of the benefits to students include the addition of formal and informal gathering spaces, and a better layout that will prevent congestion of the building and create a more open and attractive space. Not only will students be more aware of the existing services such as the barbershop, bowling alleys, and ballroom, but there will actually be additional services brought into the building such as career services, the Office of Multicultural Affairs, and the Alumni Association. At its completion, the renovation will have created a more functional and attractive space that will serve as the true hub of activity on campus. For present Shockers such as myself, I know it will be difficult to appreciate the benefits that we may never see yet are currently supporting with our student fees. For these students, I ask that you keep the following words by Nelson Henderson in mind. The true meaning of life is to plant trees under whose shade you do not expect to sit. In 1946, it was students like us who chose to financially support the building of the original student union that we get to enjoy today. So while we may not be around to see the Radigan Student Center in its new and improved form, we should recognize that our contributions will help create a true home away from home that all past, present, and future Shockers can be proud of. Thank you.
Thank everyone for being here today. I reflect back on my 3 years here at WSU, and I think back to when Don offered me this position. He forgot a couple things about issues that were happening at the time. One being a prime discussion about the Radigan Student Center. So just as I started, Jim Herman corners me and says, "We have some work to do." And I thought, oh, okay. And that led us down a discussion that started in the fall of '09. It's been a great discussion. We have a tremendous group of students who work with us each year through the Student Government Association. It's unique because they transition each year and they control just about $12.5 million in a student fee budget. they ultimately vote and control approval of very unique projects like this. So in the fall of '09, the job was to try and convince students who would not be here when this project was started or finished what the value is for a university. Fortunately, and Olivia, you're wrong, I hate to say that, it wasn't 3 in the morning, it was 4:30. I remember that day still, I think I feel it. And so after about 11 and a half hours of debate, discussion, and many strategies on how to make this work, we were able to achieve the goal of approval for this project. Ultimately, we went to the student body and asked them to support it. And if you don't believe in the power of 1%, it was 1% who made the difference in that student vote. 51% supported it, 49% perhaps didn't support it. But it made the difference because we were able to talk to the Board of Regents about how important this is. You know, from a student life perspective, facilities make a difference. They make a huge difference as we recruit and retain our students. I told Lewis and Olivia, we met in my office, they wanted to talk about their goals for next year. Lewis is the president-elect of the Student Senate. And we talked about key initiatives that they have. And one of the things I told them is, from a facilities perspective, we have work to do. And we need to look at our housing, and we need to look at our campus recreation facility. Dave White smiling because he has already developed a concept perhaps to renovate and add on to our campus recreation facility. His firm has done that. Students make the difference. This is what students are interested in today, and we have to recognize that. So it's very important to us. I want to thank the students. I thank the work that they did. Are any students in the room today who were at the meeting at 4 in the morning when we took that vote? Were you there, Olivia? I didn't think so. That's why you said 3, because you didn't know that. Our promise to the students, Jim Herman and I, that we made them was that this was the right time for the project from an economic perspective, that we would hold the budget, and that we would achieve certain things in the building that would be student-centered. Today, the architects, the contractor, they've delivered. We have stayed on cost. We have a facility that is going to make a tremendous difference in the lives of students when it is finished and even as the construction takes place. And I feel good that we've maintained our promises to the students. The Radigan Student Center is governed by a board of directors, and I would like to recognize those that are here today. I'm not sure, as I look around the room, that I'm going to see them all. I know Brian, John Dreifert. If you're in the room and you're on the Radigan Board of Directors, if you're seated, would you stand? And if you're standing, would you just raise your hand? Great. I'd like to give these folks a round of applause. There are several students who are on the Board of Directors and help us as we talk through things like capital improvements, the overall project, approving budgets. We have two methods of support for the building, student fees and revenues that we generate within the building. So we are very student fee dependent. We must be student centered, and we must deliver what they need. And so that always has to be our goal and our focus. Enough for me. My whole task today was to critique Jim Radigan's talk, not much I can do there, and not say anything that President Beggs won't say. So I hopefully haven't done that. So. And I would be remiss to say that this project would not have been possible without his support. When I came, the project had kind of been put on hold because of uncertainty regarding the economy and financials, but that didn't mean that the need changed. Today we're actually, I kid Jim Herman, but we're actually, and Dave White knows this and the whole crew, we're in a little bit of a race to see if we can finish the project before the last elevator in the original building stops working. Right, Dave? Because we're not going to replace elevators without having the renovation done. So that was the other thing we promised students, was that we had significant infrastructure needs, and certainly that has proven true as well. So certainly the support.